Previously on Budget Bites. After a long string of cooking chaos and editing endeavors, last season concluded with a chocolate catastrophe that shook Grant to his core. But after a year of intense training, he is back. Having leveled up all of his skills, he is ready to bring the heat this season. Welcome to Season 2 of Budget Bites.
Bagels, the perceived savory cousins of the donut, but in reality they have very little in common. A bagel is a bread roll originating in Jewish communities in Poland, but the thing that sets it apart from other rolls is the process of boiling your dough, then baking it. It results in a dense and chewy interior with a brown and usually crisp exterior. This process also allows the bagel to stay fresher for longer. Bagels are now popular across the US and Europe, with multiple versions and toppings being created. In general, everyone can enjoy a bagel as a quick breakfast. But here's the big question for me. Is it worth making them at home? Now, we really have three questions when it comes to that. One, does it actually cost less to make them at home than it would to buy them from the store? Two, well, is it worth the time to make those bagels at home? And three, the most obvious one, do homemade bagels taste better than store-bought bagels? The only way to really know the answer to this is to work our way through the recipe and then find some guinea pigs to test this out on. So we're going to make what is considered to be the most popular bagel in New York City, the Everything Bagel. First thing is I'm going to combine warm water with a little sugar and yeast, and then let it sit for about 5 minutes to let the yeast activate. I then stir the mixture until it all dissolves. In a separate bowl, I combine my flour and salt, and make a nice little well into which I pour my yeast mixture and a little extra water. Then stir until everything comes together. Then comes the fun part. You'll have to knead your dough until it's smooth and elastic. This takes me generally around 10 minutes. Pause. Hey, Editor Grant here. Just want to let you know, this is exhausting, okay? Kneading bread is just a workout, okay? So if you have something like a KitchenAid with a dough hook, that is so much easier. Go ahead and do it. If you don't, go ahead and knead it and just, count the calories towards the bread you'll eat later. So anyway, that's all. Let's get back to it. Oil the inside of a bowl and place your dough in it, turning it once to get both sides covered. Place a damp dish towel over the top of the bowl, and then take it and put it in a warm place to rise for 1 hour. Once that's done, uncover your dough, which should have doubled in size, and punch it down. Recover it, and then let it rest for another 10 minutes. Take the dough and carefully divide it into 8 equal pieces. Take each piece and roll between your hand or on your work surface until you make them perfectly round balls. Dip your thumb in some flour and push it straight through the center of your dough ball. Slowly stretch your dough ring until the interior hole is the width of the dough, and it should look something like this. Place your dough rings on a cookie sheet and cover with a damp dishcloth and let rest for 10 minutes. This would be a good time to get your oven preheated to 425 degrees and start a large pot of water boiling. After 10 minutes and the water is boiling, place as many dough rings into the boiling water as you feel comfortable handling. Let them boil for 1 minute per side, or up to 2 minutes if you prefer chewier bagels. Remove from the water and set aside to cool a little. Crack 1 egg into a bowl and whisk to make your egg wash. Brush that over your boiled bagels before adding as much everything bagel seasoning as you would like. Transfer the bagels to a lightly oiled baking sheet and bake for 20 minutes or until golden brown. Remove your bagels from the oven, transfer them to a cooling rack, and wait patiently until they're cool enough for you to handle. Now, the first thing I needed to find out was how much it actually cost to make these bagels at home, and how much did a leading brand of bagels cost from the store. For full transparency, when gathering the ingredients and pricing associated with them, if I was able to use a store brand to save money, that is the one I went with. I then had to take an ingredient, let's say bread flour, which comes in 5-pound bags, and figure out how much it would cost per cup. So a bag of bread flour costs $3.86 for a 5-pound bag, and there are 3.5 cups of flour in a pound, which means there's 17.5 cups of flour in a 5-pound bag. Then divide the $3.86 by 17.5 cups of flour, and you end up with the cost of 22 cents per cup of flour. The last step was to multiply the number of cups needed in the recipe, 3.5, by the 22 cents per cup of flour, giving me a result of 77 cents worth of flour, which is what I needed for the recipe.
Get on with it. Yes, get on with it!
Yeah, I know that was a lot, but I did that with all of the ingredients, giving my recipe a total cost of $1.63. The recipe made 8 bagels, which means my final cost for a single homemade bagel is a little over 20 cents. As far as financial costs go, that is pretty good. Considering you can end up with a single fresh homemade bagel for under a quarter, sounds quite appealing. I also grabbed a popular brand of bagel that's available around the US, and for a bag of 6 bagels, it costs $3.48, which ends up being 58 cents per bagel. Quick aside, I also grabbed the store brand, and it actually ended up being more expensive than the name brand by 10 cents per bagel. It was a cheaper ticket price because it had fewer bagels per bag, but on a per bagel cost, the name brand was the better option. Not relevant, just an interesting observation. Just to put this price difference into perspective, for 6 store-bought bagels, you can make 17 homemade bagels. So we can now confirm homemade bagels cost far less than store-bought bagels. But we still haven't considered our second cost, and arguably the one that is for many far more valuable than money. If we take all the time it takes to make these bagels, including actual preparation time, time to rise, time to bake, and finally time to cool, it takes approximately 3 hours. That is not a short amount of time, and definitely plays a factor in whether or not someone would make them at home. So, armed with a ton of bagels, I took to the street, and I only had 2 questions. 1, which do you prefer, the homemade or the store-bought? But then the second question, knowing that it'd take about 3 hours, would you still make these bagels at home? With the answers choices being yes, no, or maybe. The answers weren't exactly what I expected. So the first question, I was not terribly surprised at the results. Of the people who sampled the bagels, 85% preferred the homemade to the store-bought. Yes. Now, that's not an uncommon result though. People often enjoy homemade baked goods over store-bought, and I mean that's for a lot of factors. It's usually more fresh when you get it from home, but also too, store has to think about 2 things, not just the freshness, but also shelf life. So a lot of times they can't make it the exact same way because obviously my homemade bagels would not last nearly as long as the store-bought bagels. Now, while I expected the outcome of the first question, the second question, I was completely surprised at, to be honest. It really didn't go the way I thought it would. When I asked if you'd be willing to make the bagels, and even knowing it would take 3 hours, 34% said yes, 25% no, and 41% said maybe. Like, I was honestly expecting 50% to say no. And of those maybe, a lot of them were students or people who weren't necessarily into baking, but they're like, you know, I would actually be curious to try it. So results surprised me, completely surprised me. So, to sum up, homemade bagels taste better than store-bought bagels, and they'll be far easier on your wallet as long as you want to take the time to actually do them. In the end, choice is yours. So thank you so much for being here for Budget Bites. It's fun to be back for season 2. It's something. It is something. I'm excited. If you notice, this is different, a little different than other things that we've done in the last season. The last season was I was really starting out on YouTube. I was trying to be formulaic, doing the same thing over and over, and trying to perfect it a little bit. This season though, I really want Budget Bites to be fun, and not just fun for you to watch, but tons of fun for me to make. So I'm gonna be trying all different formats. We're gonna be trying different things. We're gonna be trying taste testing. There are gonna be fun challenges. I'm gonna still do recipes and things for you to try, but we really wanna mix it up and make it just fun for both of us. Because once this isn't fun, I'm gonna stop. I'm not making money off of this. This is really just for fun. But I want it to be fun, and I want you to enjoy it, which also means I need to hear from you. And this is not some plug. It's like and subscribe. I hate that so much. But I do want to hear from you, whether that's in person or on my Facebook or text me. Please don't text me. Just get in touch with me and let me know what you think. What do you want to see videos on? I have this month blocked out, but I have a couple things that are flexible that we can try. Like, I'll actually have the whole year blocked out. But I want to hear from you. So, hey, please let me know what you think, what you want to see. I want to have fun with this, and I want you to be a part of it. So, let's see. Well, I can't think of a better way to sign off than listening to the epic voice guy we heard from the very beginning.
This season, Budget Bites hits the road. explores the strange, and has a fun time doing it. Do not miss an episode every first Wednesday of every month. Welcome to Season 2 of Budget Bites.